Welcome to the Christina and Francesca cooking show. We invited Francesca over for our podcast interview and talk about your Ciao Pappy.
Yeah, so this is Ciao Pappy. This is 2 of our 3 flavors. We're 100% California made, inspired by the Italian coast and the California coast. So there are a lot of lighter flavors, brighter colors, just that sort of coastal lifestyle and feeling. Here's our Classico, is a tomato, basil, garlic, and our brand new flavor, our Creamy Calabrian with crushed tomatoes, organic cream, and Calabrian chilies.
Yum, and I think we're gonna try that today.
We are gonna work with this one today with our beautiful homemade pasta.
We're gonna make homemade cavatelli from my book, Cooking with Italian Roots. And we're gonna start off with measuring out 2 1/4 cups of flour. So
Okay.
we're using all-purpose flour. So go ahead and we're just gonna plop it right here on a flat surface. We prepared a flat board. You can use a pastry mat, you can use a flat board. In fact, I also made this in Italy. I made gnocchi and I also made cavatelli in Italy. So now we're gonna do 2 pinches of salt.
Great.
So this is about 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, and then just like mix it with your hands, just so the salt is kind of integrated with the flour.
And I told Christina I'm a sauce person, not a pasta person. I love eating it, but I'm not as experienced in making it, so this will be a fun for everybody to learn along the way.
And then make a well in the center. So kind of, so we're gonna pour the water in. Okay, so we've got about 1 cup of tap water. It's lukewarm. And we're just gonna pour a little bit at a time. Okay, so as you're mixing it in, you wanna try to gather a little bit at a time. You wanna start in the center and see how it's starting to mold in. There you go. No, this is great. This is great for people to see
The mistakes
how
too.
you gather water as you're mixing it with the pasta dough. And you want the water to be like semi-warm because you don't want it to be cold. You want it to really mesh with the dough.
Now we're getting some.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep. Now your tomato sauce is really stemmed from your family and your dad, your papa, right?
It is. So Pappy, who you see on the front of the label, is my dad. He is from Genova originally, which is in a region of Italy called Liguria. He lives there. He moved back about 13 or 14 years ago and lived in the United States for about 3 decades. And so great way for us to stay in touch and work on this together as well, because they are all of his recipes.
Wonderful.
And we did make the new flavor in our home kitchen together his last 2 visits. So he's definitely very involved and certainly a core inspiration behind the product, having enjoyed his wonderful home cooking all my life, and I've learned so much from him in the kitchen.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, now I want you to feel the dough. As we poured about at a little bit more than 1/2 cup.
Okay.
And it's starting to come together now.
Yep.
You can see it, but we just want to continue to keep kind of
Massaging it.
Yeah, massaging it, and we're going to add a little bit more
Okay.
to it because it's still really dry, even though it is sort of equally incorporated. So you're really adding water. A lot of Italians won't even measure the water. I found in Italy, I was like, aspetta, I need to measure this.
Yeah.
So they'll go by feel,
Okay.
right? They'll go by feel. So
Which is different for baking with dough. Usually it's so precise, but I think pasta
is a little bit
has
more
a mind of its own.
Yeah. For people that cook all the time, it's really, it could be intimidating for us if we're not making it all the time, but they're like, yeah, it's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They know how it's supposed to feel.
Yep. And that's the beauty of cooking, is just working with your hands and being really present with what you're doing and the food you're creating and
because people can feel that energy, right? Yeah, the love behind it.
Okay, do we want more water?
Yeah, a little bit more water. We're gonna use the whole thing. Yeah, and now you can feel it's really,
sticky.
We can actually at some point pour the whole thing in, and then you're really gonna massage it into a smooth. There you go.
What consistency do you want this to be?
It's going to be, it's definitely too wet right now. We're gonna knead it until it's, it bounces when you put a finger in it. So it has to be really smooth. So right now you can feel it's really wet, it's really lumpy. Yep, so now we're gonna start to knead it. So you're just gonna sort of beat it up a little bit. Yeah, so you wanna you wanna keep folding it into itself so that it starts to sort of meld together. I do have recent practice too. I was just in Italy, like watching them do it, and then everything they make their sauces out of, and you could speak a little bit about this, but is based on everything grown in that town or in that region. And I'm assuming that's probably the origin of your recipe as well.
We do, so we use only California sourced ingredients, so all of our suppliers are local throughout the state.
You feel it now?
Yes.
So I beat it up, you watch me beat it up, see if you can, so you're gonna continue to do that. It's still a little lumpy, so you still want it to be a little bit smoother. But the recipe of your sauces really probably originated with your dad and how he learned to make them from what was grown in that town or region, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything there is so fresh and local anyways. You know, they have a very different attitude and perspective around food and you know, how they respect food. So, you know, we really wanted to do the same and respect the same to our local space. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's few ingredients, quality ingredients, and let the flavors really speak for themselves. That's why even our new flavor only has 4 ingredients in it.
Yeah,
it's really just to kind of let the Calabrian peppers shine, let the tomatoes shine, and that's it.
And that's what makes it so authentic.
Yeah.
You know, anything that you're experiencing, whether during travel, you have an amazing meal at a restaurant, or you're at someone's house and you're being hosted, or you buy a sauce from the store, it's because it's authentically it's linked to the origin, and that's what I think people resonate with. So now you can feel it. You can see how smooth it is.
Big difference.
Yep. Yeah, you just want to knead it until it starts to bounce back.
Okay. Almost there.
It's almost there. Yeah, I can see it's almost there.
I just love cooking because it gets us away from our phones and
I know.
lets us just use our hands and be present, and
I think it brings us together.
For sure.
Right?
And it grounds you. I mean,
Yeah.
whether you're cooking by yourself or with others or for others, it just is a very grounding and heartfelt thing to do, and just a firm believer that, you know, making a meal for someone else is like one of the most thoughtful things you can do for somebody and meaningful things to do for somebody. So
it's a love language.
It is.
Right? It's like my love language.
It is. Me too.
Well, and Francesca and I connected because I reached out to her. I saw that she had a magazine article and write up about her, and I reached out, and just when I was kind of launching my cookbook, or after I launched my cookbook, I said I have to meet her. I mean, she just talked about kind of creating this brand out of her family heritage. I created this cookbook out of my family heritage. So I just felt like we had so much in common.
And we started the company also by way of putting a cookbook together with my dad's recipes that now has taken a backseat to the sauce. And as we were going through the cookbook recipes, the pasta pomodoro was something we grew up on. And we decided to jar and bottle that and gift it to friends and family for the holidays. And now here we are.
It's grown. Yeah. It's grown. It's amazing. And you can hear more of her story on the podcast episode. You can find it on the podcast channel. Okay, so we've got a smooth ball, and we're gonna let it rest 30 minutes. So we've let the dough rest, and now we're going to start shaping the cavatelli. So first we're going to cut this in, just go ahead and cut this in 4 sections.
Okay.
We want to get the dough to manageable sections. Great. Okay. So we're going to take each section, so just take one pie, and just tear off about a small section, like a 2-inch, whatever. And then we're going to start to roll it between our hands we're going to make a long rope. And you want to get it a little bit thin. Now, we're using an old machine, so normally if we weren't using a machine, you could absolutely make these by hand, And normally if we make these by hand, we'll take the rope and we'll get it, it's a little thick in the center, but it doesn't need to be that thin. Nice and malleable, right? You would cut it, if you weren't using a machine, you would cut little pieces off, and then you can take your middle finger and just kind of like roll it, and they become a little, like a hot dog bun,
Yeah.
right? So you could absolutely make them by hand. Today we're gonna show you the machine because it's kind of fun to use, but do you wanna try it by hand?
Sure.
A little smaller than that. You wanna do like a half of that size,
Okay, cool.
yeah. And then you take your middle finger and you just kind of roll it towards you, push and roll, push down and roll, roll towards you. There you go. And yeah, there you go. And it's a little hot dog shape. It's kind of fun,
Yeah, it's
right?
fun. I love
It's like
it.
squishy and
They're so cute.
There
And
we
the
go.
great thing about this pasta too, I think you probably learned a lot in Italy about how you have to have the right pasta with the type of sauce.
Yes.
Is important.
Yes.
So with the sauce that we're
Yeah,
cooking
we're gonna
today, I
try the
do
sauce.
recommend like a thicker, kind of heavier, heartier pasta
to hold it.
To hold it, but the starch is there's like more starch in it, so it helps kind of bring the richness to life of the sauce.
Okay, so we're gonna show you the machine.
Okay.
So we're gonna move over here.
I'll let you.
And sometimes it needs a little bit of flour. This is an old school machine
It's beautiful.
from back in the day, and we're just gonna, so it cranks through this little, and it'll cut little shapes. See how they're moving out. And I've lined a baking sheet with parchment paper. You can actually make these and freeze them. I'll put them a single layer in the freezer and have them, and then freeze them and use them at a later date. Yeah, they're coming out.
Love it. Beautiful.
You can separate the layers with some flour just so they don't stick together. Just sprinkle them and then they'll separate. The dough came perfect.
It really is. It's beautiful.
Right? And elastic, and it's perfect. So we've added the cavatelli to the boiling salted water, and they are done when they float. So we're just going to strain them.
Right, so the sauce doesn't really need anything, but if you want it extra rich and be a little naughty with your pasta, I like to add a little sliver of butter to the pan before you warm it up. Give it a little shake. There you go. And then, since it's just the two of us, we're gonna do about a third of the sauce. Yeah, just keep it on low. You can stir it from time to time, but you want to just slowly warm it up so you don't lose the viscosity, the water, or the tomato. You don't want it to evaporate too much, so you can keep the consistency. And that's it. And then you just mix in your pasta.
Okay, we have our cooked cavatelli, and we're gonna add the sauce. Ciao Pappy sauce. Yum.
So, and the most important part, top your creamy Calabrian cavatelli with some freshly grated, imported, beautiful Parmesan cheese,
Yum.
aged Parmigiano Reggiano. And I love a generous amount, so don't be shy. It just helps bring all the flavors together and some more richness.
Yum.
And that's it. Bon appetito.
Yum. Yay. Oh, it's spicy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's got a kick to it.
Green chilies.
Wow, that's good. Well, thank you so much for coming over to cook.
Thank you for being here, or for having me.